Hi, that's me, Tormund, and we're fighting against the Brits. I like to hang out in the back and be a useless little fuck to the rest of the team, but how did we end up here, you ask? Well, let me show you. Ancestor is a game set in the medieval times when the Vikings just wanted to fuck up the Brits to no end. And since I'm Norwegian, I kinda had to check out this game. The game is, mostly, a top-down tactical game set in the medieval times, where you gather your squads with different abilities and ways of attacking. Now the build I was handed only had 3 levels, but it gave me enough juice to get where the game is heading and how it plays out. And I was under the impression that the game would be online since it said squad, but it's actually a single player game. Hopefully multiplayer will be available later, but at least multiplayer wasn't the case in this case. So I went in with a multiplayer in mind actually. So you want to kill some Brits as Vikings, or vice versa, as the game will have several factions at launch actually, like Germans, Vikings, Slavs and Brits. So where do we go from here? Well, let's start from the beginning. From the moment I set foot on the shores of the Brits, the tutorial was kinda lackluster, but the whole game seemed to be a 2-hour tutorial it would seem like in the end. So you have your standard move here, or the standard attack, but later your party or squad will unlock something called abilities you can use in combat. Now the premise of the game is very simple, attack and win. But in between all these moments are some interesting mechanics and set pieces. Now the game is very easily handled with a mouse and keyboard, but it will come out on the Xbox One next year. There's only a top-down camera and an over-the-shoulder camera if you press G on your keyboard. And I didn't know this cause the game doesn't have a goddamn setting screen. More on that later in the fucking cons with the game. Now the controls are simple, but I have several times fucked it up. Not because I was, let's say, uneducated, but more on that in the con section or bug section. Everything from sneaking in the grass and ambushing your enemies to surrounding and flanking them from behind where they least expect it. This game gives you not a lot, but some tactical and interesting mechanics. You can form up a wall with spearmen and shields if you want, or have the whole squad with only spearmen or only warriors. Now, people with bows and heroes are also available in the mix, so the tactics are up to you. Infiltrating camps or villages seem to be like the big thing in this game, as that's how you get your resources. Now hold your fucking horses. You're probably sitting over there being like, "Hey Bambi, that fucking sucks. We all know resources just fucks everything up." And you might be right, but not in this game. At least I didn't feel like it in my 2 to 3 hour playthrough of it. Because in this it actually makes sense. Wood builds buildings you can take advantage of, but I never saw them in my build because the game was too short or it didn't really introduce them. But iron or metal are used for upgrading your squad's armor, and food is to keep your squad's morale up. I don't know if they will die from hunger, but I didn't really push the limits there. More on those last 2 soon. All these resources are key to winning over an area, as exploring the map is the only way to find your way to more of this. So exploring is important if you want to fuck up your enemies. So you can't just let your dudes pound on an empty stomach, you know. So you have to take over villages to get resources. You can assign people to do iron work or woodworking or food working, so that's up to you later on when you actually take over the buildings or the villages. I never felt like it got grindy, but it kind of blew when one of my towns got taken over without no good audio-visual feedback. Suddenly, like, one of my towns was just fucked because I didn't read the little text thing in the corner. Now the game suffers a bit, or actually a lot, by not having good audio-visual feedback when something important is going on the screen. At several times did I move my camera around on the map, and one of my squads was under attack, and only a little notification in your left corner would tell you that it actually happened. And if there was no red flashing on the screen, or maybe like the sound that played, that might be a bug, but that didn't happen in my playthrough, and that's how I lost the whole town, which gave me resources, so that's pretty fucked up. Talking about the audio, it's okay. The songs are pretty okay, but the rest is nothing to write home about.
Prepare an ambush out there! Enemy spotted! Good. We have resources. The only thing left is to get better equipment. We need to capture the iron mine and craft ourselves better armor.
Graphically, it's decent. You'd expect this from a top-down game. It's kind of shit at times, but sometimes I had to zoom in and see the details in the buildings and the grass. So it's kind of standard in general, and yeah, it's okay. Now the drawn cutscenes will probably get your Witcher 3 senses tingling, as it had a striking resemblance to that, so I'm all hands up for that shit. The fun level of it all. Well, after 2 beers, I started to have a more interesting time. It might have been my inner Viking coming out when I played as the Vikings, but I think that opinion is still valid, you know? And in my Viking-induced rage, I went with upgrading my offense stats, so I could just cut through everyone in the end, and the game has upgrading systems. You can upgrade your squad and your armor, more on that later. Now I have to mention some bugs. We're halfway through the video, and I have to let you know. Now there were some bugs, and about 2 hard crashes when starting missions. I think that's actually 3 hard crashes. I don't know. The screen doesn't zoom out enough for you to mark all your units. That's not necessarily a bug, but that's a big problem. So when you have a lot of squads, you won't be able to zoom out enough to mark them all properly. It can be done, but you always feel like there's not enough room. The camera is often obscured by shit like trees, mountains, buildings, and you never really know what's going on behind it. Although you don't really need to, because there's like a stat bar that shows through everything, but you kind of want to see what's going on. Talking about getting to see what's going on, the over-the-shoulder camera has so shitty colors. It's depressing. There you go. Much better. Now, I also had a lot of issues with the AI in the game. Like, if your squad is already in combat, there's no way you can control them around. So having 2 squads fighting 1 squad, you can't move one of your squads behind them. So you can't really flank them in a way, and I feel like the game suffers from that as well. Several times did I try to move my squad when they were already attacking to get a tactical advantage, and I actually lost because of it. I would love to see you being able to move your squad no matter what. Now, there were no options in my build. Now, the game ran smoothly at averaging about 100 to 200 frames per second on a 1080 and an i7. Still, key bindings would be good, as I didn't even, like, an option screen would be good, you know. I kind of want to know what the fuck I'm pressing, and if there's keys to press, because I didn't know. I kind of had to mash all my buttons on the keyboard to find out what the fuck the buttons did. Also, no options for graphical settings or audio or anything, so that's also something they have to fix. There's no panning of the camera either, so you can't really change the direction of the camera. This is also related to camera being obscured in many cases, so having a camera that would be able to pan would be way better. So with all the systems we talked about, there's still something to mention. Every squad can be upgraded with armor and general levels. These will help you defeat enemies and are essential to beating them sometimes. After having been introduced to iron or metal, I don't fucking know the if it was iron or metal, but probably iron. I found out you can make armors for my dudes, so I did it, and when the squad got defeated at one point, I got sad. Because I had a relationship with them now. I put so much effort into those little guys, and they were just dead now. So keeping them alive is key, so you won't get your heart broken. Talk about keeping them alive. Food. Their morale goes down if they starve, and it will affect your movement speed, incoming and outgoing damage, and shit like that. A lot of these systems really, they never really held me back, but they were annoying at times. Now, there was one mission I found very intriguing in all of this, and that was the sneaking mission. It had 3 guys from my team having to infiltrate and find food for the other people in the woods, kind of a scout group. And since we were outnumbered the whole thing, we had to use our tactics. We had to ambush people and hide in the grass, and that was funny. That was cool. I also feel like this game would have been way better if it was a turn-based game, because there's so many abilities in the end, and I just feel like I can't press all the abilities for the squads for it to be an advantage. So I feel like a turn-based version of this would be just what the game would need, because it is very chaotic when combat is ongoing. Now, it takes a long time to kill your enemies, so you have time to click on your squads and press the ability that belongs to the squad, but it takes a lot of time, and that might be lose or win situation. So you know, I feel like a turn-based option would be great. But you know what? You know, all this said and done, tactical games have just never been my strong suit. And I thought Age of Empires way back in the day, play that shit, sucked at it. I'm playing through Divinity Original Sin 2 right now. As tactical as fuck on the harder difficulties, 60 hours in, addicted. I suck at them, and that might have skewed my opinion of the game, but you will have to draw your own conclusion if you like it or if my opinions are valid or not. So overall, fun, a bit confusing, but intriguing with the story elements and set pieces, like the stealth mission, where everything was just on the line and we only had 3 dudes. So, should you buy this? At a discount, probably. As of now, I haven't seen a price on the game. I wouldn't pay top dollar for this. No. It says the game will be out in the second quarter of 2018. Price, I do not know. Maybe pick it up at a few dolins. So yeah, that's my opinion of Ancestors. If you like what you saw, well, you know, I don't know, let me know.